After 2 long years of waiting, Stranger Things is back for its 5th and final season, and things start out pretty big. The finale of the 9-year show goes all out with collaborations with big brands such as Doritos, Nike, and Target, and promotional objects such as limited edition Eggos and Surfer Boy pizzas were launched across the nation. Nostalgic items such as Stranger Things Care Bears were sold at Walmart, and Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade features the 80s band Foreigner. And this was not just in the US. A Stranger Things experience has also appeared in Rio de Janeiro and Sydney. After all of this, fans were pumped up to see the end of their favorite show. So when the finale of the entire 42-episode series hit, viewers were disappointed? With an average of 53% on Rotten Tomatoes for audience ratings, and the finale ranking near bottom of the episode list on IMDb, it was clear that the average viewer was not satisfied with this conclusion. Indeed, after I collected some data from over 50 local high school students, the consensus, for the most part, was not very positive. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at the parts this show excelled at, and the parts where it failed to impress. Hi, I'm Sua, and welcome to Feels Like Literature, a podcast where we review and analyze stories across media to find what makes a classic. To start, let's take a look at some of the areas where Stranger Things 5 shined, beginning with the visuals. Especially in this season, the scope of the practical effects are quite impressive. In episode 4, The Sorcerer, the Maxi sequence was filmed on the largest single set used on Stranger Things. Not only did it take the production team over a year to build, but it also used over 600 lighting instruments, 400 practical fixtures, and 100 stuntmen. Additionally, in episode 5, Shock Jock, the special effects team hand-built a physical Demogorgon for the first time, and in the following episode, the Melting Hawkins lab used 3,000-gallon takes of grayish goo. Despite the show's overall more frequent use of CGI, which will be addressed later on, it's very clear that the production team put their best into making these sets feel real. Unlike previous seasons, Season 5 breaks a common plot formula in this series. That is, each group of characters in different age groups solving their own piece of the puzzle until at the very end, when they somehow all fit together. However, the entire main cast begin with the same goals and work together, which highlights their development. Speaking of development, there's a lot of strong dialogue between notable pairs, such as Nancy and Jonathan, Mike and Eleven, and Dustin and Steve. The unproposal scene between Nancy and Jonathan has been praised by fans for the mature yet heartfelt reconciliation between the two. Mike and Eleven also get their moment by discussing their plans for their future, showcasing their growth through the journey. Dustin and Steve get to address the chasm between them caused by a friend's sacrifice in the prior season, and have a raw, heartbreaking scene where the two reunite as best friends. Some honorable mentions are Season 5 soundtracks and literary allusions. The music, which many viewers enjoyed, is a smooth mix of nostalgia, charm, and powerful emotions. In Mike and Elle's Goodbye, Princess Purple Rain playing in the background, its sentimental instrumentation combined with the lyrics, "I never meant to cause you sorrow," intensifying the heartbreaking moment. Meanwhile, the cheery yet unsettling Mr. Sandman, a song that plays in one of the closing credits, inspired the viral Vecna Got Me social media trend, where people would post reels of their body parts posing unnaturally to the tune, mimicking Vecna's curse in the previous season. Interestingly, in addition to the memorable song choices, Stranger Things 5 alludes to literature, most particularly Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. The show uses the names of characters and places from the classic 60s novel, such as It, the Black Thing, and What's It, to cleverly reference its own characters and places. The fact that both stories challenge conformity, significantly involve interdimensional travel, and feature a cast of main children also makes the book fit perfectly into the story, and even help audiences understand the show's new concepts in a simpler way. More subtly, the season takes on the tone of a Bildungsroman, the literary coming-of-age genre. Since the show's characters grew from children or teens to young adults, the finale reflected upon their loss of innocence and personal development. To quote Robin Buckley, "It feels so different. But maybe it's not the town. Maybe it's me that's changed. We probably all have." And that was it for the good parts. As mentioned in the beginning, there were many mixed reviews on this particular season, but mainly negative ones. This can be seen through the survey. In total, 52 responses were recorded from grades 9 to 12. When asked about their personal ranking of Stranger Things in the context of the other seasons, 31 put it as 4th or 5th, meaning that the majority ranked it as worst or second to worst season out of the show. 13 students ranked it 3rd or in the middle, and only 7 considered it to be above that. Additionally, many who responded in the survey surprisingly praised the visuals, while viewers on social media platforms such as Reddit and YouTube have been heavily criticizing the cheap-looking CGI. With a closer look, the visuals do appear to downgrade compared to the earlier seasons. In Season 5, Episode 6, Max escapes from Vecna's mind, dubbed Camazotz in the show, which parallels her iconic Season 4 running up that hill scene. However, the cinematography is noticeably different. The Max here stands out awkwardly, an overly saturated CG background behind her, and a glaring white light flashing off her whole face and body. These odd visual choices take away a sense of believability in the audience, and detracts from the emotional tone the scene was meant to convey. While the editing and writing contributed heavily to the previous season's arguably more striking rendition, the use of red lighting and deep shadows, which blended Max in naturally for surroundings while making her stand out, made her feel as though the events on screen were happening in real life. This in turn gave a visceral viewing experience that put the audience in the character's shoes, a standard the recent season fails to live up to. In addition, much of the plot of Stranger Things 5 can be seen, for the most part, as confusing and inconsistent. From the very start, it breaks the continuity of the previous season by ignoring the appearance of ashy air and decaying flowers in the real world. Instead of a more inevitable plotline of the world transforming into the Upside Down, Season 5 contains a convoluted narrative, where Vecna plans to kidnap 12 children to merge another dimension with Earth. While finales tend to tie up loose ends and theories, the lack of clear details and consequences in the story create more questions for the viewers. Whether Vecna is really a vessel, how he went to high school with George Spires, and why he does not telepathically attack the protagonist like he did with his curse. On the other side, the human antagonists, Dr. K and Sullivan, are just as puzzling, since they have little to no motivations aside from opposing the main characters. For example, Dr. K obsesses over capturing 11, likely to use her to finish human experiments aimed to recreate her supernatural powers. Yet it is unclear how having more people like 11 would benefit her in the first place, because what Dr. K hopes to accomplish with them is unknown. It makes her more of a caricature than a compelling villain. Notably, Season 5's lack of stakes also affected the show's overall tone, leading to lacking the heavy atmosphere befitting a cataclysmic situation. This is mainly found through the characters, who for the most part appear to feel no haste in the story. After Max reaches the portal to escape from Vecna's mind, she drags on an encouraging speech to Holly, who was a near stranger to her until a short time ago, and runs lacklusterly to the real world, although she waited 18 months for this due to her slowness to act in her first attempt. Even worse, when traversing through the abyss, the crew of young adults walk at a tour-like speed, despite the fact that the lives of the kidnapped children may well depend on their urgency. They even seem to be unaware at times that every minute of their stalling could serve Vecna's purposes. Given that the viewer's experience of pacing is deeply affected by the protagonist's attitudes, it is no wonder that the series came off as underwhelming and slow for the audience. To finish with one last connection to literature, the show's refusal to clarify moral implications detracts from a seemingly happy ending. One of the most controversial scenes in the finale is Eleven's death, in which she appears to sacrifice herself to end the suffering of future children like her and the people she cares about. Yet the showrunners take an ambiguous approach by inserting a hypothetical theory in which she survives. Though it is framed as Mike's personal approach to moving on from her death, the question itself of whether she still exists out there in the world lessens the impact of her purposeful passing. At the end of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the creature, spoiler alert, chooses to take himself to the farthest north and remove himself from the world. Though an unwelcome society played a part in his afflictions, his death confirmed that he understood there would be no life fulfilling his desire for acceptance. He knew his existence alone was a catalyst for the suffering of others as well as his own, which is why despite the bleak ending, it made sense for the story. Arguably, 11 is different for having a companion, unlike the creature, yet her situation is still similar. Rather than fulfill a moral arc, Stranger Things feels the need to entertain audiences with an alternative, and avoid bearing the backlash. In all, Season 5 of Stranger Things accomplishes a lot. It excels in its music choices, character relationships, and the overall scope of a finale. Audiences, on the other hand, feel that it could have been a lot better. Whether it was the visuals, villains, or vibe, the story was unfulfilling in contrast to the epic grand finale many hoped it to be. In this case, the series did accomplish one thing. Whether in a satisfying or unsatisfying way, Stranger Things turns our expectations upside down, for the last time. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it, it would help a lot. And leave a comment down below or contact me through feelslikeliterature@gmail.com. Next up, we'll be taking a look at one unique historical fantasy K-drama. There will be epic sword battles and water mages, but above all, a magical identity crisis. I hope you look forward to the next episode, and I will see you next time.